Did not go their way. So the Class 1A Region 2 bracket is officially out. Um, yeah,
Wow.
if you got to take the state to court in order to get your team in the postseason, I guess you got to do what you got to do.
They ain't gonna do it. They're not gonna mess with it.
Also, we had a we I was really excited going into last week because I saw two of my favorite coaches in the area. We had a chance to uh, briefly for like a day and a half. There was NFC versus Rutherford, a matchup I was actually looking forward to seeing. However, I believe that both teams were like, "Hey, man, we'd rather have been," because, and I think just because of how close they were, I think those coaches would have rather been in the state playoffs because NFC, I mean, man, it was really that close by how much they missed it. And then, of course, Rutherford, I think Rutherford, it really just came down to a game against, I believe, one of their district games against Bozeman. And then, of course, they had the loss, a really close loss against Arnold, who was subsequently in the playoffs. And sometimes when you get that close and it's not, you kind of don't want to play for anything else other than the real thing. So their matchup has been replaced by Rock, I believe, and Hudson, uh, who will fill in that. And I'm not mistaken, it could have been the 4 and 5 slot. But if you saw NFC and Rutherford on the bracket at first, yeah, your eyes did not deceive you. Just both coaches, and I totally understand this. We'd rather play for the real, the be in the actual state tournament. And I do know that NFC might have had a little bit of low numbers there going towards the latter part of the season. So congrats to both of those teams, and it really was close with NFC. I think you have to go back and wonder like if they needed that game against Jefferson County to be played. So scheduling and not being able to play that game could have swayed the points. So we almost had yeah, we would have been at 20. We would have been at 28 teams
Mm.
Wow.
and 20 games in one weekend.
Wow.
So,
So much playoff football.
but yeah, it's time to go ahead. I think we need let's go ahead and not waste any more time. Let's go ahead and run it down. The matchups are in. It was quite the theatrics for the playoff reveal last week. FHSA got delayed by almost an hour and some change before they went live with it, so they kept everybody on pins and needles. Uh, Bracket releases are always fun. I really liked what I saw with Liberty County. They put up the whole video, the reaction video. That was cool. Um, but a lot of what we've seen here over the past really last 2 weeks has been, man, it's been super close. A lot of the teams, especially we saw just how the line was just drawn there. I've been looking at the Rural Fit back bracket, and it still looks pretty formidable. You got Holmes County, Union County, and Port St. Joe. That's going to be a lot of fun. So we're going to go ahead and start breaking stuff down. Um, we're going to go ahead and start with the Rural Fit bracket. Hitchka making the trip down I-10 to take on Central, the Jaguars. And this is a rematch from previously in the regular season. And the Gators have a great opportunity to kind of steal one here. What we really Central was kind of been a little bit of an enigma. They definitely got I think they had the benefit of a schedule that just kind of was not conventional a little bit. I think they only got in like 9 games. So didn't really get a chance to watch them too much, but anytime you get a rematch on your hands, it's definitely where you have the ability to kind of sneak up on your opponent, especially with Hitchka already having had I would say just a chance to kind of break down film again. In my opinion, I feel like this is a coach's dream for the first round if you were on the losing end.
Yeah. Been involved in a couple of those, Mark. Hated it when you won the game. I didn't like playing the same team because you're not going to change anything. They are, and when you start the game, you basically filling each other out, hoping you don't make the same mistakes you made before. And this, where we were in Central, that's a nice little matchup. Both of the records are pretty similar, and getting the opportunity to continue to play football is real cool. Maybe get to play during Thanksgiving. That's exciting for most players.
Yeah, I like this matchup too, with these two programs, and looking forward to see who comes out of the Rural Florida Invitational. And I think there's motivation because keep in mind, last season in the inaugural debut of this tournament, you had a Fort Meade team that finished with an exact same record similar to Central win the entire thing. So anything is possible for these two programs as they get ready to be a part of a postseason tournament. And that's the thing about going into this matchup that I hope both teams understand. Like, listen, throw the records out. Gentlemen, you are in a postseason tournament, and the records are now 0-0. So I look forward to seeing what this matchup will be. Who won the first meeting between these two this season? Central did. Okay, so, the ancient saying, tough to beat the same team twice. Can you do it again, Jaguars?
It was, in fact, their last game of the regular season.
So they get to play back
to back.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's worse.
Halloween, they took a 14-12 loss. So
that's worse. That's worse.
Yeah, this is wild. They played less than 2 weeks ago. There's no games in between. So I'm glad you all brought it up because, they played earlier in the season. They played basically, if the game went about an hour longer, they would have played twice in the same month. As far as the final goes, but special teams was the difference. And this is a tough little corridor with the 7-10 matchup. And then you get to the next round potentially, right? For the winner, they go Port St. Joe. This is a very defensively strong kind of section. And I think you get some low scoring games. You're going to have to do it the hard way. And this is interesting because Central is one of those pocket teams. They really play teams in their area strongly. And so it's really kind of tough to compare them to what the rest of the scene will be. So I think they'll have another good rematch against Weewa here.
Yeah, it's really Weewa Hitchka's defense versus I think it's Jaden Joyner, I think is his name, leading everything, rusher, receiver, score. And a lot of times when you get against a dynamic guy like that, we were Hitchka on defense. I think they've got Bailey Cox at I think on the defensive front, who's team's leading tackler. It comes down when games get close like this. A lot of times, what you'll see is that it's just a ripple of two things, and it's just when you talk about special teams being so important, I would look to see Weewa Hitchka probably take a big shot early on in this game. A lot of what happened in the last game is that there was just no. I think it was a 1-score game, a 1-point game going into the half, where I do know Central had the lead before Weewa Hitchka added another score. It's very close. A lot of what we've seen is that these teams they're very evenly matched. Central's schedule went something like this. They had Franklin County. They opened up with a loss with Franklin County, Baker, Northview, and then Rocky Bayou Christian and Jay before they finally got it going against Vernon and Lighthouse Christian. So if anything, this is one of those where it's just it's one team that you really know you got a shot against, and this has been the game for both of them. Weewa Hitchka, their schedule went a little bit differently. They had they opened up with a pair of wins between Graceville and Vernon, but then moving through the midway point of the season, they had to take on Liberty County, Cottondale, and Franklin County, and the rest of the bunch in the Panhandle before they finally got to Central. This has been their most evenly matched game. So I look to see, another close scoring affair. I definitely could see Weewa Hitchka taking the edge, being able to correct some of their mistakes. But again, Central, they looked at the game tape too. A lot of this is going to really come down to being able to contain each other's best offensive player. And right now, everything seems to be going through Jaden Joyner for Central.
Yeah, and they're coming in hot too, Mark. All three of those wins last 3 weeks. So they really caught fire. Vernon, LPCA, I think it was, and then, of course, a big one against Weewa. So have a team that's feeling momentum. we'll see how that off week treated them. But as far as the previous games, you got to like what you see coming here from Central.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is going to be one we're going to keep our eyes on. These games in the Florida Invitational Tournament, otherwise known as the FIT, are on Thursdays. So Friday is reserved for the regular state tournament. FIT games are going to be on Thursday, and which brings us to our next rural FIT matchup. How about them Tigers hosting Wildwood? And we got a regular here. I hope she joins in the chat because we were trying to tell her, like, hey, Tigers are back in the postseason. Anywhere you can cut it, this is going to be a great playoff atmosphere. There's really very few places on the map like Monticello, and this will be a great way to take in the game. A lot of what we've seen from Coach Bright and the Tigers has really just been a rejuvenation of the program. They've been pretty competitive and physical in most of their ball games, but still putting things together. And man, this will be a great exclamation point to cap the season. And then also there's the added benefit when you play, when you get extra playing time, especially with your younger guys, it can mean so much to your program going into the spring. That extra ball that you get to play just matters so much going into the spring ball of next year and into the off season. So I know both coaches are going to be looking to take advantage of it, but man, I know Coach Bright. I had a chance to talk to him earlier. Very much so looking forward to this home game here, being able to get them. And I'm not sure. We got to check because Coach Spears called it Death Valley. I'm not sure if the name's still stuck. But for the Tigers, this is going to be one of those where they're going to be really trying to take advantage of the home field. And against Wildwood, man, that's a bit of a trip on a Thursday. And so the Tigers may have a little bit of edge just by virtue of the date schedule for the game and on the fact that it's on their home turf.
Yeah, Mark, I'm glad for Coach Bright. He's trying to change the culture at Jefferson County, and playing postseason football can do that. He wants to get the kids used to, because if you get used to playing after regular season, then kids start playing. Maybe they give a little bit more. They got an opportunity maybe next season to play in the regular playoff tournament. But right now, being able to play a home game, playing in extra football, I mean, you can coach them a little harder. They got something to shoot for.
Absolutely, man. We talked about it all season long of this team's chances of just potentially squeezing into the state playoffs of the rural division. And although they came up short, they still are in the postseason. Great opportunity for Jefferson County to build on this postseason run in the rural FIT tournament, and a good opponent as well. I think Wildwood will have something to prove in this matchup taking on the Jefferson County Tigers. But at the same time, like playoff football being back in Monticello, in Death Valley. So yeah, props out to Jefferson County, man, on making this this tournament appearance.
There you go. And you get your freshman quarterback, kind of like what you said, Mark Spearman, give him an extra game to kind of build off of this. And you got to like it based on what Jefferson County has seen the last couple games. They've kind of gone through a gauntlet. You have a big, bad physical Sneeds. You've got an electric Liberty County. And then you've got a nasty defense out in Chipley that they've faced their last 3 games. So I think this will be a little bit smoother sailing for them. And so maybe they can get a spark going, get things going at home. And, who knows where you go once you get off to a fast start and things get rolling.
Yeah, Jerondre Pittman, the senior all-everything, gets one more last hurrah here on his own home field. The winner of this one gets Fort White. So Tigers definitely looking to try and extend their season by at least a couple of games here. But, man, a good matchup against a Wildwood team that's also kind of a similar position as them. Both teams kind of evenly matched. Tigers sitting at 2-8, Wildcats at 1-9. But this one will have the added benefit of being live streamed by us. We're going to make the trip out there to Monticello and see if we can put that game out there for the masses. So this will be a good one in a great environment. Hoping to get fed while I'm there. Just putting that out there.
Wow.
But yeah. Jefferson County Tigers taking on the Wildwood Wildcats at home in Monticello for the first round of the Florida Invitational Tournament out in Monticello. Keeping it rolling. Childs heading down the way, taking on Palm Harbor University, the Hurricanes. Both teams sitting at 6-4. Palm Harbor is the host, but Childs, man, from what we've seen of them, this really, I would probably put them at a little bit higher seed in the upper class of the fit tournament. But for the Timberwolves, this is really a good matchup for them. I think that they're from what they've been able to show us, if the ground game gets on, and especially if the defense, that front four, if they can get active, this game really could go Childs' way.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised in the seeding. I thought Childs would be higher because they were very, very close to making it the regular tournament, and having to travel on a Thursday night. That's kind of tough. And I think what Palm Harbor is right by Tampa area
Yeah.
is that's a nice little trip on a Thursday night. But hopefully Childs will come out and play an A game and like you said, get that running game going. And if they get that running game going, they're very difficult to beat.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a statement game for Childs and Coach Reagan's. It's unfortunate being just coming up short of the Class 5A state playoffs, but you still have a chance to show, those in the 5A state playoffs, like, hey, you're missing out. This is what we could have done. So I like this matchup. I like it. I wish it was in Tallahassee, but I guess Palm Harbor being a Class 6A school. Remember, in this higher bracket, it's 4A through 7A in this tournament. So this is a good 5A versus 6A matchup down in whether it's the Hillsborough or Pasco County area. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Childs is going to do against a different style of football, truly, because for some time now in the postseason, it's been tough for a lot of these big men's schools, especially those in Tallahassee, that have gone toe to toe with their fair share of teams from the Miami area and Tampa area.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Of course, you got the dual threat quarterback Silvestro down there. That's a strength for them. They like the run game, but I like if Childs can start fast. That this is a team that has trouble kind of playing catch up with kind of Palm Harbor. So, if Clark and Cadet can get the run game going, I think combined they're about 1,800 yards on the season. And then we know Childs can get some explosive plays from the passing game here with G5 and the rest of the gang. I like the opportunity to stick defense. So this feels like an opportunity for Childs. As far as you look at the metrics, as far as the schools are ranked, this is one of the bigger disparities. Childs ranks roughly, if you use the Max Preps rankings, they're roughly 50 spots ahead of Palm Harbor when you kind of cross-classify everything, of course. But to Mark's point, this is a Thursday, and this is one of the biggest. I know they kind of split it North Florida and South Florida as far as the fits go for these blended classifications, but this is one of the, if not the farthest trip that a team will be making in the fit tournaments across the board, whether it's the upper class or the lower class or the rural fit.
Looking at the bracket as a whole, I think Childs has a golden opportunity if they can overcome the Thursday night out of the element kind of scenario. Looking at the winner of this one gets Land O'Lakes, another team that actually Childs could have a great favorable opportunity against, especially in the bracket. And if that's the case, there's a slight chance that they could earn another home game, maybe, given the rulings. But for Childs, and I think really this is more so on Coach Reagan's and his staff. I think they'll do a great job preparing. I think they want to make the most of this opportunity. I think they realize that there's some, especially for the seniors. I know that there's some meat still left on the table for these guys. This is a very senior heavy team. I look to see Fryer and G5 to have a big game. I do know that the running game will be there, but I think for every senior on this team, I think they really want to be able to prove and have some several statement wins and be able to go on a playoff run. And I think this is a golden opportunity for the Timberwolves to be able to kind of establish themselves going into going into the offseason, but a lot of this just comes down to, just what kind of energy those seniors are going to bring, especially on the road environment. For a lot of teams, this is either kind of like either you're up for it or it's like, whatever. It's not the real tournament. And I think for the Timberwolves, I think they're definitely going to be up for this one. I actually look for Childs to kind of be able to kind of take the advantage here and kind of shock some people like they've been doing all season long.
Agreed.
And that's the thing. And that's the thing when you're looking for primetime performances, you're looking for big games. I think G5's kind of been sleeping a little bit. So I'm waiting for the big kind of breakout game. Like you said, Mark, you know about the run game, but your stars shine brightest in the biggest stages. And, you get a couple more scouts when you're playing down there in the Tampa area, besides up here in the capital city. So when you go over to Jacksonville, when you go down to Tampa, when you're in Orlando, there's a little more eyeballs on you. So an opportunity to get some balls rolling here for maybe post high school football when you go down there in the big city.
Definitely. You would be in, I don't know how close we are to the dead period, but I think, what is it, December? It's December's the dead period, but still to be in a lot of coaches' backyards where they could easily, especially for USF, UCF, that kind of area, it would be nice to kind of check out more than just what's kind of going on. So a big Thursday night game for the Timberwolves, golden opportunity against Palm Harbor. We'll be keyed up on this one and keeping an eye on it, as we will for every other of the 19 games we got on the slate for this Thursday and Friday. So that was the fit bracket for both the rural and the upper class. Let's go ahead and get into the tournament that we've all been waiting for. This is the Florida State Football Finals, the first round, rural classification. Bluntstown 9-0, the undefeated Tigers. Had a great conversation with Coach Wagner earlier. They will be taking on Jay, the Royals, who sit at 6-4. This will be out in Bluntstown. Nothing like being at Bowles Stadium or Bowles Field for a first round playoff game. The grills will be going. There'll be, I can't tell you what'll be on it, but I do know that you'll be able to smell it before you pull up in the parking lot. This is going to be a great, and really for Bluntstown, I think they've been off for almost 3 weeks now.
Yeah, man. You don't like to take off. You like to keep going. Most time you don't like missing weeks. But with that talent, it'd take about a quarter for them to get back in rhythm. They loaded at every position. It'd be very difficult for Jay to go in and have some success. They might have it early, but by the time the third quarter, I think Bluntstown will be rolling.
Yeah, absolutely, man. All season long, we've talked about how explosive Bluntstown is, and we've seen it in all their highlight reels. They can beat you in the pass game, run game, and their defense finds ways to make big plays happen, forcing turnovers. Yeah, absolutely. Can't wait to see what the Tigers are going to be doing now in this postseason run. But then again, I will give Jay benefit of the doubt. You never know. I mean, all that time in preparation to catch a team off guard early in the game could give you somewhat of an advantage, maybe so, but keeping it and being consistent is the challenge. But we'll see. Everybody plays different in the playoffs. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, this is one of the biggest, baddest teams you got going right now. And Bluntstown, I mean, you could take 4 weeks off, to be honest. You got a nasty O-line. You got 3 D1 guys in the backfield. So I don't care how many breaks you're going. I don't think the rust up. I think it's a rest up for these guys. So I'm looking forward to it. And this is going to be tough for Jay. Having said that, if they can get things going quick, they gave Chipley a fight, all that they can handle, a good defensive team that's really powerful. And then you look at another undefeated team that they played against, Baker. They played them really tough. So I don't think this is necessarily the huge traditional 16-1. But, every now and then, just like we see in March Madness, 16 knocks off a 1 every now and then, and that's why they play the game, gang. But this is one of the baddest teams that I've seen. I don't care what classification you're in. Explosive, hard-hitting, big line. They check all the boxes, and there's a reason why they're the top dog, and they're 9-0.
Hey man, we just helped Jay out. You know that, right? Cause we tell them they ain't got. If they looking at the show, they looking at us and people they say we don't have a chance.
So you're
And,
telling me it's a chance.
and then they gonna go out and they gonna remember what we said. They gonna probably put it up and video it and put it up and repeat it back to us if they happen to be fortunate enough to upset. But I don't, I said all that. I don't think that's gonna happen. Bluntstown been on top. They've been playing well all season long. I don't think playoff is gonna change that.
Yeah, I like Bluntstown in this game. I like Bluntstown at home in this game. A lot of what I'm seeing here is, I mean, man, the Tigers have been averaging like 54, 55 a game. This is one where if Bluntstown is doing anything that they've been doing during the regular season, they will try to put this one away in the first half. Looking at the schedule and how they played, they've scored the majority of their points in the first half. This is a team that starts fast, they hit you in the mouth, they come out, they're not pulling any punches or trying to do anything cute. They're just putting the ball in the hands of their playmakers and letting them do work. A lot of this is just going to be about and I do think that Jay can probably throw their best punch, but honestly, Bluntstown, I think their defense is only giving up at most during the season 22 points.
Marking, like I said, we putting wood on the fire. If I'm a player, if I'm looking at this show, man, I couldn't wait to get to the field.
If it is a David versus Goliath kind of thing, it's just like, hey, it kind of went in a way where, hey, know your opponent. These are things that we don't have to really provide too much description on. We know what Bluntstown is. They've been proving it all season long, and I do think the added rest might just be a benefit because you do get banged up, and those guys will be well rested. This will be a tall order for Jay, but again, to Jupe's point, they did play some very top tier teams very close. We'll see what happens, but honestly, I look for Bluntstown to start fast and strong.
Plus, they got coach's boy Amari Thomas. He's 1,400 yard man, 17 touchdowns. Gang, he's averaging 18 yards a carry. 18 yards a carry. He's got 1,400 yards. He hasn't even rushed it 80 times.
Wow.
That's a number for you.
Crazy.
That's a whole bar.
Look at the film. Yeah.
I thought he was one of the best I saw him in a long time. He's pretty daggone good. He's it's dangerous playing a team like that because you could stop, and boom, long runs kind of take the heart out of a defense.
But yeah, it's going to be going down on Friday night. Again, the opening round of the rural playoffs. Bluntstown at home taking on Jay. Bluntstown undefeated at 9-0, taking on the Royals, who are sitting at 6-4. The winner of this game across the bracket, we'll get into that one just a moment, will be the winner of the Chipley-Madison County matchup. So just hang on. We're getting there.
Wow.
Let's keep it rolling. And boom, there it is. We don't even got to wait for it. It's right there. This one intrigues me more than I'll probably say any other first round rural matchup. Chipley, went into Lafayette and I mean, man, they were physical. They didn't flinch. And then they walked out of there with a win against a very, very good Lafayette Hornet team. That was probably one of the most evenly matched games. Could have gone either way, but Chipley, congrats on the win. I think their only blemish came to a Holmes County team that is sitting in the fit bracket that missed the playoffs arguably by a touchdown or less. So Madison County, this has been where now we get to see if the scheduling is going to pay off because all of the upper class classification teams that you played during the regular season, this is where it's got to count. So for Madison, this is going to be another tough road environment. Chipley is definitely a very tough place to play at. The Tigers, I think if I'm not mistaken, I think the Tigers at home are undefeated, 4-0. So a perfect 4-0 record. Their only loss was on the road to their nemesis. And this is a team that looks like they've gotten better in the second half of the season since that loss than what they did in the beginning, where they ripped off 4 straight to start the beginning of the season. So this is one where, it has to just, for Madison, it's just like, okay, this is where we prove the theory of scheduling up is going to pay off dividends in the playoffs. Because Chipley's definitely a tough team. Sitting at 9-1, and whatever the formula for them has just been, just for me, from based on what I've seen, they just out physical teams. They're just that ferocious up on the line. They don't they really get after it on defense, especially on the defensive front, and they do have weapons offensively. I wouldn't say they're just the most explosive team, but they find a way to just wear you out and first down you to death, and that really speaks to their offensive line, especially in the Lafayette game. So this will be a tough test for Madison. I don't care what you slice it. This is real football. A lot of this will come down to how much gas is in the tank for the Cowboys.
Mark, this is a tough test for Chipley. Madison playing tougher schedule, it matters. Trust me, it does matter. When you can fight with those bigger schools, and you get somebody on your level, the edge comes when you know that you can compete at a high level. Madison, it might be the best 5-5 team in the whole state of Florida. They have that culture. They ain't used to losing in the playoffs, and it's hard to beat a team like them because they're not used to losing. They expect to win the championship. Some teams think they can. They know they can, and they've done it over and over and over. And I expect Chipley got their hands full. They ain't played nobody like this all year long. Nobody. This team here can go into different schools all over the state of Florida and compete. They start what is D-Land, 6'7", 6'8"?
7-8.
7'8". And they went and I mean, they battled them. They battled Pace. They battled Lincoln. Lincoln, they made a mistake with a pick six that cost them the game against Lincoln. They not off. They could have had a better record than what they had, but playing that type of schedule, really, really, you can't make too many mistakes. And I think this team, if Chipley could come out on top of this, that's a monumental conquest for them. But I think that Madison is a far better, superior team than them.
Monumental indeed.
So what?
I said monumental indeed. I feel like in order to pursue championship and to make it all the way, you have to go through the ones who have been dominating the scene now for some time, and that team is Madison County. Like you said, you're right. It would be monumental for Chipley to pull this one off. Truly would stand out throughout their program's history, even stand out throughout the state. I mean, Coach, you just labeled Madison County the best 5-5 team in the state. So it would definitely stand out in the spotlight if it was to, happen. If, big if.
Yeah, you could see some of the highlights, just from Madison County's last matchup against Lecanto. The defense is really where it's at for the Cowboys. That's one of the reasons I feel like they are just a hair or a shy away from being 7-3, maybe 8-2, going into the playoffs as maybe a higher seed. But for Madison, this is, I would say, it really kind of favors them that they are sitting at a lower seed. You get you were kind of knew you were going to be paired against a team that was more your speed, but on the same kind of token, we really, looking at the schedule, you're hoping that the strength of schedule, like you were saying, Coach, pays off, especially being able to take on the upper level teams. But a lot of what I've seen from Chipley has been just being more opportunistic and matching the other team's physicality. So this will be one of those where I would actually expect to see a close ball game.
Yeah, you got to look at the strengths too. Of course, Madison's front seven. I think Dre Arnold, he's been living in the backfields right now. And so for a team with Chipley, you're going to have to try to get it done against the pass rush. We saw Lafayette that they were getting after the quarterback a couple times, just barely escaping. And then you think about that Madison County offense. They've been efficient. They've been consistent. And they're a better passing team that teams give you credit for. So when you go strength versus strength, I love the front seven here for Madison. They're aggressive. They're nasty. You got Mitchell getting into the backfield as well with Arnold. And they're going for the football. They're one of the highest forced fumble team rates as far as takeaways here in our area. And they're ball hawks looking for some opportunities to get it back. So if Chipley's going to get it done, they got to keep it low scoring. But I'm really liking the Madison County defense and the versatility that they bring on offense.
Yeah, I don't see this one breaking 30 points. But again, if it is close, Chipley could stretch the field against Madison.
Mark, yeah, you hate to predict the score on the teams. I mean, these are high school kids. Anything can happen. It could rain. The weather could affect the game. We know it's going to be cold, but I don't think that really matters. I think on a evenly based, the schedule that Madison played has really prepared them for the playoffs.
All right, so this one going down on Friday night. 9-1 Chipley hosting the Madison County Cowboys, who are sitting at 5-5 in the first round of the rural playoff bracket. Now let's talk about one of our other teams in the rural. Taylor County, the Bulldogs, sitting at 9-1, took one misstep against Chiefland, and they've been rolling all throughout the rest of the season. A lot of what we've seen from the Bulldogs has just been a lot of just explosive plays on offense. Being efficient and not turning the ball over has been really one of their strengths. Against Leon, they came in into I would say what would have been a very tricky road environment and handled it pretty expertly. A lot of what we've seen is just, again, after losing to Chiefland, which was really built up as a very big game. Both teams were coming in at 6-0 undefeated. After suffering the loss, I just appreciate the way they just bounced back and just kept rolling through the rest of the schedule, not flinching. When you got guys that can do that, sometimes the loss, what that means is that they learn from it and that they were able to kind of right-size the ship after facing some adversity. And that's exactly what you need in the playoffs, because it's not just, do you have another game? It's more so, how are you going to handle each quarter? So for the Bulldogs, this is going to be one of those where, again, Trenton, no slouch. They've been able to put together a 7-3 season. They've been able to play their opponents pretty tough. I think they were a couple of missteps away from being 8-2, going back midway through the rest of the season. But for Taylor County, this has been a long time coming for the Bulldogs, especially for Coach Braswell. They've been looking forward to hosting at their place for a minute. And you're talking about a team that's kind of been through quite a few ups and downs since before COVID, going through multiple coaches before Coach Braswell took the helm. And then, of course, it was a hurricane that came through, decimated the stadium not once but twice. They've really done a great job rebuilding the program from the inside out. The fan support is always there, because if you've ever been down to Perry, you know they love them some Bulldogs. So the town will be out and everybody will be on hand for this one. This is going to be a great playoff atmosphere.
Yeah, Mark, Coach Braswell at the beginning of the season, he expected to be here. He knew he had a good team coming back, and he talked about it. We had a conversation at the beginning of the season. I'm looking forward to seeing how this will work out, because Trent is not an easy matchup for them, but the experience that Taylor County has, I think they'll be okay in this game, and I'm looking forward to it. This is one of the games I'm looking forward to seeing, because the rural. Just going back to rural this year, it has been probably the most successful group of teams in any classification in the state. These guys are pretty easy. A lot of them are evenly matched. They play tough schedules. They play each other, and they're hard teams to beat. Because I think only a few years ago, wasn't Taylor County a 2A, 3A school? So, I mean, they used to competing on high level. And I think Coach Braswell is expecting to have a successful playoff run, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Taylor County is such a highly talented team, man. As we can see on the highlight reels of this game, their last previous regular season game, how they handled Leon. They have a quarterback who is a dual threat, one man army Swiss knife, man. Makes plays happen, finds his go-to receivers, and he also has a good dynamic duo with his running back, as you can see right here. This team is really eager to make a playoff run, and I'm excited to see how it's going to go and seeing how they handle against Triton, which they too have played a solid season as well. Coming off a 7-3 season, they've played their fair share of good competition as well. So we'll see how, especially the game starts out early, and which one builds early momentum.
Yeah, when you look at it, you talk about strength versus strength. Mark, I know that's something you like to talk about as far as playoffs. This is one of the toughest matchups I think Trenton could have encountered here. When you look at kind of this pocket, their three big losses are all teams that have been very efficient in the passing game. Maybe you don't attribute maybe Chiefland and Branford to being prolific as far as in the passing game, but they are very efficient. They had big plays, and they each got 3+ touchdowns against them. And then you saw what happened in the Lafayette game. I think Taylor County and Lafayette is, from an offensive passing standpoint, seem very similar. This seems very tough for Trenton. That's got a really run-centric offense. Not a team that's really going to come back. So if Taylor County goes with the explosiveness and they get on it early and often, like we've seen them doing the majority of the season, is going to be a really tough task here for Trenton. On the flip side here, I think Taylor County conditioned well. You look at their schedule, they've got a lot of teams that kind of have similarities to Trenton, Fort White and some of the ones more recent as far as Leon and a couple other schools you sprinkle in that kind of middle section. Not necessarily McClay, but some of those other schools that you'll see in that schedule has prepared them well. So for the Taylor County faithful, I'm really liking your chances, especially here at home. You're on mute, Mark. Turn up the mic.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can see the kickoff return there towards the end of the highlights. Taylor County has found a way to really just, through all phases of the game, be dominant. Special teams, they're probably one of the more dangerous teams in the area, regardless of classification. They're a very dangerous team. If you kick it to them, punt it to them, this is a team that can hurt you in so many ways. They're also opportunistic on defense. This is a team that's created a number of turnovers this season. So the Bulldogs definitely have the edge in this one, despite the fact that they're at home. For Trenton, yeah, you spoke about you really spoke about really what their defense is going to encounter. For Taylor County, this is one of those where, continue to stick to the script and, the second round will take care of itself. What looms on the other end is a possible date where you really want to be able to kind of take a look at this one. This is Fort Meade and Pahokee on the other side of that bracket. That there could be a potential scenario where the Blue Devils make the trip up to the Florida Big Bend area to take on the Bulldogs if things go according to plan. So that will be a huge matchup, a 5 versus 4, potentially looming in the second round. But Friday night, it'll be the Bulldogs, who are 9-1, taking on Trenton Tigers at 7-3 in the first round, also of the Florida Rural Classification Playoffs. Moving on, we got Lafayette at Williston, and man, this one kind of baffled me a little bit. I didn't expect Lafayette to fall this much, especially sitting at 8-2. But again, going up against Williston, sitting at 9-1. This is one where I really like Lafayette's chances. I was really impressed with what I saw during the regular season, and especially in the matchup against Chipley. Although it was a loss, the Hornets really have, I would say, the right mixture to end up in the second round. A lot of what they've been able to do, like you were saying before when you were describing the Bulldogs, was just how efficient they are on offense, especially in the passing attack. That's one of their strengths. It has been for the past several years. I look for Lafayette to really kind of spread the love around a little bit to some of their wideouts and really get those guys in open space and create some opportunities. Chipley, I do know that Williston will be studying the Chipley tape because they'll need to be extra physical against Lafayette because that is one of their strengths also, as well as their offensive front. They do a great job protecting their quarterback and keeping his jersey clean. And, for the most part, for Lafayette, it's just another opportunity to be able to kind of work your way into the second round. The other side of that bracket looks pretty tough as Hawthorne is sitting over there in the wings. They've got a date against Bradford, who's the number 15 seed. So, but again, playoff football, this is what makes it fun, especially in the rural classification, because this is kind of like an SEC style. You really don't know any given week. If all these teams were to play each other for 10 weeks in a row, you'd see probably, I would say, the most evenly matched of all the classifications. You can kind of spread this around. You're going to see a great array of talent here, but for Lafayette, this is all about being able to get a win on the road in a very tough road environment.
Yeah, Mark, this is a pretty evenly matched game. Usually in games like this, turnovers, mistakes make the difference, and a team that can execute in a tough environment usually wins these games. I think this is going to be a close game. The team that, like I said, that makes the least amount of mistakes probably going to win the football game. And it's kind of, with teams with a 9-1 and 8-2, I mean, it's one little mistake make the difference in these whole games. And Lafayette has a pretty good football team, but Williston is no slouch. And they better bring Lafayette better bring their A game. And because Williston they used to being in this position, so let's see if it's going in the fourth quarter and it's close. What team makes the least amount of mistakes?
Yeah, Lafayette played a good game recently against Chipley last week, if I'm correct. So, we know what this team is capable of and how they're going to go into Williston and take on a highly talented team. As you could see right here, if they get rhythm going, man, they won't be stopped, but at the same time, historically speaking, the Williston Red Devils are definitely a team that has a postseason history. This is what they look forward to every season and looking into making a run. But I do like the Hornets' chances in this one. Like you said, Coach, if they find a way to keep it close, and depending on who makes the big play in the fourth quarter, will determine who gets the victory.
Yeah, and this is an interesting one. Tough for Lafayette because you had that loss to Chipley Good team. But since that kind of pocket that they were in the bracket, Mark, to your point, the loss really affects you. You have almost a 10% drop in that win percentage. So, yeah, that's kind of the difference between a home game and an away game. Because if they win this game, they're probably sitting right around that kind of 6-ish seed. And this is a team that we could talk about probably hosting like a Liberty County, which we'll kind of see later down the line. I like in big moments, you got ballers. And Williamson is a straight up baller at quarterback for Lafayette. But it's going to be interesting. You have a defensive front that loves to get after the quarterback. Ramey Webb, watch for 88 here on Williston. And they've got a really balanced run game. So they are primarily a rushing attack, but they cycle a lot of bodies in there. So it's not a one-horse show, so to speak. They keep them fresh. They keep the offensive line moving. And so it could be kind of a clash of styles that you see. Heavy run game, really impactful there. And then on the other side, you see Lafayette slinging it.
Yeah, we're just taking a look at Williston here. Their ground attack is pretty sharp too. Offensive front is definitely one of those that can match physicality, or at least they have in their schedule a slate of games. This is them going up against Trinity Catholic on the road, a game where they really look dominant in. This is a team that's not 9-1 for any just regular reason. They really proved it during the regular season, taking advantage of opportunities. And the Red Devils, man, they could really cause some trouble here. a lot of it just has to do with just looking at how they create space. This is one of those, and I think they've got like a wing T style of offense that can really give some trouble, especially in a road environment for Lafayette. So a lot of this will come down to probably Lafayette's defense. And can the Hornets be able to kind of stuff that run game and keep Williston from getting it going on the ground?
Well, Mark, I happen to have coached the wing team, and look like they're pretty efficient at it. It's kind of difficult if you're not used to playing that offense. It is very difficult for the defense to stop, and I'm sure Lafayette hasn't. Lafayette's prepared for the wing tee, but it is a very, very difficult offense to stop. And also, I'm watching these long runs, and what people don't understand in the wing tee, a couple people make a mistake, and it's a touchdown because they got a lot of eye candy in the backfield, and the players get through, and the linebackers out of position, and boom, it's a guy running right by you. So Lafayette gonna really have to be on their P's and Q's playing this team. I hadn't seen that video you just showed, and that scared me to death if I was playing against them.
Williston averaging 45 a game, and their only loss was an overtime 36-35 loss to Chiefland to start the season.
Wow.
So tells you a little bit. They struggled a lot against Newberry in the regular season, 15-14 win. So if I'm Lafayette, I'm watching that Newberry tape. I want to see what Newberry did just to kind of see if I can gain any kind of advantage. But this is going to be one we're going to have our eyes on. 8-2 Lafayette hitting the road and visiting Williston, the Red Devils, who are at 9-1, also in the opening round of the rural playoffs. So let's keep going here. I think we've made it through most of the rural bracket as we cycle finally to one of our second to last matchups here in the first round. Liberty County taking on Baker. And man, congrats to Coach Tranquil for breathing some life into the Liberty County Bulldog program. They are now at 7-2, very quietly and methodically went about their business, winning away on their last several games in the regular season, and they're taking on Baker 10-0, but the scheduling might not be on par as some of the other teams. 10-0 is still 10-0. Definitely don't want to take anything away from the Gators, but this will be a pretty tough matchup for Liberty County, as this one will be on the road in Baker.
Mark, Liberty County's schedule is kind of not schedule, but their record is kind of deceiving because they lost those two games early, and they kind of caught their win midway through the season, and they started to dominate at the end of the season. So the team that lost two games might not be the same team that plays on Friday night. They're going to be a very difficult matchup for Baker. I'm assuming Baker is home, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, they home, and that might be a slight advantage. But Liberty is not going to be easy out. 10-0 don't mean anything in this game because I think with Liberty playing the way they did the last part of the season will make a big difference in how they approach this game.
Yeah, I agree with you, Coach, man. I mean, Liberty County fought hard throughout the season to get to the postseason, and, they've even done a good job winning on the road. So I think this will be another good test to see how the Liberty Bulldogs, get ready for this postseason journey that they're beginning against an undefeated Baker team, which is no stranger to the playoffs, man. This team knows how to make deep runs. I think it wasn't too long ago they were playing for a state championship. So this will be an exciting matchup. I can't wait to, keep tabs on this one.
Yeah, you got to watch out for Straight and those guys over at Baker. Nice balance for them as far as the passing game and the running game. So I don't think it's one of those things where you can isolate them too strongly when you go into these matchups. Luckily, Liberty County's pretty far to our west, in regards to Tallahassee, because Baker always gets me because they're they're far out there. They're real far out there. And so I think, you just like, oh yeah, they're kind of in the panhandle, but you got to go out there. So it's not too far for Liberty County. So I love the senior leadership that we've been seeing from this club. To Coach's point, they've been getting hot lately, and you see the offense explosiveness. I'm really excited to see how the sophomore quarterback handles this big challenge on the road in your playoff game. How does he lead you and get you going here in this playoff? So big one for Hare, but I'm excited to see what Marlowe and Watson and some of these other seniors that we've seen kind of progress through here for Liberty County. How far can they take you? Because this feels like a team that's got some playoff magic. And if you talk about getting hot at the right time, I mean, there aren't many hotter here than Liberty County.
Yeah, Marlowe and Lolly on the offense, especially Dylan Marlowe, what he's been able to do, especially if he can get going, this could be one of those where we could see some Bulldog magic kind of sprinkled on this matchup here. Just to be, just to kind of balance out the matchup a little bit. Baker's got a 1,000-yard receiver, I believe, in Riley Renfro. And, anytime you got a 1,000-yard receiver, that means you got a quarterback who's almost thrown for 2,000 yards. And that's exactly what Baldwin has done. I think he's at almost 1,750 or 1,700 on the year in passing yards. And a lot of this will come down to just strength versus strength. Can Liberty County get the ground game going and kind of start taking advantage? Liberty County, one of the things I like about them, they're very opportunistic in all phases of the game. They look to create turnovers to get the ball back. They do like to control the clock. We saw that against a few of their matchups where they can just drain an entire quarter by just being very methodical. This is also one of those we're on defense. We talked about how opportunistic they could be in takeaways. They also really like to get you off the field on third down. So if Liberty County can find a way to be successful in those areas, they could really give Baker County a little bit of trouble here. A lot of what we've seen from Baker is just the scheduling. When you take a look at who they've played, it really goes where they've played kind of, I don't want to call it the cupcake schedule, but a little bit on the lighter side. Vernon, Destin, Central J, Rutherford, Houston County out of Alabama, Northview, Zion Chapel, and then I would say probably one of their dominating wins was at Port St. Joe. That's what really kind of convinced me, a 24-15 win to close out the regular season. So it is what it is, but Liberty County will definitely have to see if they can take advantage of any kind of miscue they get from the Gators in order to be able to survive this one. The winner coming out of this one gets the Sneeze Chiefland winner. That's a 3 versus 14 matchup. And speaking of which, not going to waste any time. Just go ahead and jump on into it. Sneeze, the Pirates, who have really put together a pretty, I would say, a solid season here at 7-3, taking on Chiefland, who's been in absolute juggernaut mode at 9-1. We had a chance to see Chiefland really go and take care of business against Taylor County on the road. Again, for the Indians, if I'm not mistaken, I think their only loss was to Baker County to open up the season, which was relatively close to open up the I think second game of the season at 14-0. So the Indians have been really just they have a quite, I would say, a really sizable defensive front. They've got some size on that team, and they can go big for big, especially on the line.
Mark, this is a tough matchup for Sneeds. Chiefland is I think one of the better teams in the rural, and it will be very difficult for Sneeds to travel to Chiefland and take a victory. They're gonna have to do control the football and keep it out of the hands of the Chiefland offense. Those long drives, consistent drives, no turnovers, and hoping that Chiefland makes a couple of mistakes. But it'll be a tough matchup for them. The sneak coach, you got veteran coaches. They kind of can even things up in the football game, and you just got to, play your A game, and hopefully things will fall your way. But I see this as one difficult matchup for Sneeds.
Yeah, you look at the way of how Chiefland plays, man, just pure physical gridiron football, man. We saw what this team could do when they went toe to toe with Taylor County when both teams were undefeated, and how they were able to get things going in that matchup. Be very tough for Sneeds, got to find a way to make those key stops. And, the Sneeds Pirates have also, played good football this season too, man. So we'll see what they're going to be capable of going down on the road to, one of those places. I've driven through Chiefland. I've seen this stadium, man. And as we're seeing on some of these highlights, man, that place, I could only imagine on a Friday night, the whole town shuts down and everything, especially now that playoffs are here. Yeah, big road challenge for Sneeds.
Yeah, they're kind of the team that feels like gets forgotten in the upper echelon of these rural ranks, that top 4, top 5. You see kind of all those other teams kind of hitting through here. Chiefland, like you said, Mark, is the real deal. They got John Adams on defense, of course, presidential name and a certain regality to his game as well. Living in the backfield, strength versus strength. The front seven of Chiefland is mean. And the Louisville man is leading the charge. He lives in the backfield. I think he's almost a dozen tackles for a loss. He's got 3 sacks. He's whipping around on defense. He also gets on the offensive side. He plays a little wide out, gets a couple of touchdowns there. He's doing everything possible. You see why the Cardinals like him. And then this is another one of those opportunistic teams that you talk about, Mark. You got Jalen Dottie on the defensive back end, so they get pressure. You can't run. They get a lead on you, so then you have to throw, and then Dottie starts picking off interceptions. I think he has 4 on the year, and this is a team who takes it away, boom, big play, gets it right back, boom, another big play. All of a sudden, you're down 2 or 3 scores, and then you're feeding right into the Chiefland frenzy. They are a dangerous, dangerous team.
Yeah, Matt Goodell has thrown for, I think, 1,400 yards. And then, of course, Sweet also at 1,100. So you got 1,000-yard. You got almost a 1,500-yard passer and a 1,000-yard rusher. That is, the definition of balance. And, yeah, make no mistake, they spread the love around. It's not just Sweet that's getting it done, but also Goodell is a little bit of a dual threat. So there's just some really strong elements to this Chiefland football team. And Sneeds, for the most part, will really be a very heroic defensive effort that will really have to be in play in order for them to hang around in this ball game. A lot of it is just, man, how fast Chiefland is. That's one of the other elements about this offense. So Sneeds will definitely have to step up big defensively in order to hang with Chiefland. But again, I'm pretty sure the Pirates will be studying that Baker County tape, looking for any kind of chinks in the armor. Chiefland hosting Sneeds. The Pirates sitting at 7-3, Indians at 9-1, and that will be all of the rural teams. So, man, just a loaded bracket in the rural classification. It's definitely going to be fun. We've also done the fit as well. It is time to bump up a classification. Now we're in 1A, the Marauders, Maclay, taking on North Florida Educational Institute. The Eagles sitting at 6-4, making the trip down I-10, coming into the friendly confines of Frank Shaw Field on the campus of Maclay. We will be on hand for that one. Jupe Gang, Jupe Company will be helping us live stream that one. So we got quite a few games on deck for you on Friday and Thursday. But this one, Marauders took a tumble there at the end of the season. Tough loss against Walton. Also had a tough loss against, I think it was Valwood a couple of weeks earlier. So really a little bit of a tough way to end the month of October. But again, the Marauders, with the benefit of the week off, the dead period, trying to heal up a little bit. And I think they'll be ready for this game. They're getting an opponent I think that they honestly hold the edge over. A lot of what we saw about Maclay this past year is just pure grit. This team is physical. They bully teams around and just kind of run the clock out on you, also while being able to take advantage offensively.
Yeah, that's a nice little matchup in the first round of playoffs. Two teams that look pretty close and even based on their records. but McClay playing at home is a hard team to beat. I'm not sure on the record. Maybe Juke can correct me, but I can't imagine. I think they are almost undefeated at home, and that's going to be a tough matchup for North Florida Education Institute to come in and try to take them out. We at the beginning of the season we weren't sure on how this team was going to handle the season after getting a new coach for the third year in a row. They managed; they didn't miss a beat. They had a great season, and I'm looking forward to them. I think this first round playoff is perfect for them to get them ready to go on to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited for, what we're gonna see, the playoff atmosphere at Frank Shaw Field for this one. And McClay has had a run in or so with North Florida Educational before, if we want to go back in time. So this will be quite a matchup between two familiar teams. But I'm excited. It's been very entertaining seeing McClay play this season, how they run the ball, the quick pass attacks that they have, and then defense finds a few ways to make some big plays happen. So I'm excited.
Yeah, you got to watch out for logins. He's kind of your primarily Russian quarterback, and then you got Jalen Carter as well in the mix. I think McClay did a really good job of diversifying their schedule as far as play styles as well. And I see this team, if you're trying to like typecast things, and I know, Coach, you talked about this last year, is when you have in the playoffs is like building off of previous experienced teams that you've seen before. And to me, the team that sticks out that they've seen before is Chambers Academy. And so I think they can use that game from 2 or 3 weeks ago to really kind of typecast NFEI. And I think there's some vulnerabilities in the passing game, which I like Henry Richardson to kind of run around in that secondary, and Tucker Popple, which I think McClay will kind of use to their advantage. Then go to the run game, of course, with Anthony White as well. But I see if they can limit the run or kind of stop the run, just like what we saw from Chambers. If NFEI starts to having to pass it a lot, typically they get into some trouble. And so I like McClay kind of with the matchup here. I think this suits them really well as far as play style goes. And it's just a shame that we were a missed extra point away, because if not for the missed extra point in that NFC Freeport game, the final game of the season, this is probably NFC and not NFEI here for this 1A game. So we would have loved to have two, but we'll take the one, and I'm liking McClay's chances here this week. Excited that the Four Quarters Online Network will be bringing it to you live, starting just before 7 p.m. Of course, make sure to hit that notification button so you don't miss the action. Whether you're at Jefferson County for Thursday night or Friday night, you're looking for your Marauders. Long story short, the lower classifications kind of got you covered here in the Big Bend.
Yeah, we're taking a look at NFEI or NEFI. Their one of their better games against Oak Hall, where they really had a chance to pour on the points. You can see they can be explosive on offense, but for the most part, I look at how McClay's defense stacks up. They stuff the run very well, or at least we've seen them do that very well so far this season. This game could turn into a bit of a slog, but I look for McClay to kind of control tempo, especially being at home. This is one where I think this is Mrs. McClay trying to establish legacy right now. They've been able to kind of prove themselves as being one of the more dominant and consistent 1A teams. A spot that used to be held by NFC has now been taken over by McClay in recent history, as they've been able to really establish the program. This is one where I look for the Marauders just to take advantage of home field and just make the team uncomfortable and really just bully them, which is kind of what their calling card has been. But Marauders sitting at 7-3, looking for another deep playoff run here in the 1A classification. They open up against North Florida Educational Institute, the Eagles, who are sitting at 6-4 at Frank Shaw Field in Tallahassee on Friday night. Let's go ahead and jump up to 2A. And man, if there was ever a tougher draw in the first round, I don't think it gets any more challenging than this. The Walton Braves sitting at 4-6, who actually got the McClay Marauders to close out the regular season. Man, they go across all the way across the I-10 to take on the Bulls Bulldogs, who have been an absolute just terror over the course of the regular season. The Bulldogs are sitting at 9-1, and I believe holding a top 5 spot in the entire state of Florida right now, let alone in the top 25. Man, this is just going to be this is an awful test to open up the first round of the playoffs. But for Walton, again, you're in. Anything can happen. This is one of those where they will look to maybe hopefully pull out all the stops against a really, really tough Bulls Bulldogs team.
Yeah, this is a heck of a draw for Walton County. But your record is your record, and you put yourself in this situation. And hopefully you play maybe your better game going up against this team, because they're probably gonna. I don't know how they prepare, but a lot of teams take teams like this light, and all you want to do is stick close and make it close at the end, and maybe have a chance to win in the fourth quarter, and hopefully Walton can bring their A game, because they're gonna need it. This Bowles is a perennial champion. They are, it's been years and years. Bowles is in the championship in the state at different classifications. So tough matchup for Walton, and just trying to keep it close and hold on to the end.
Yeah, absolutely, Coach, man. I mean, when it comes to this team, Bulls, man, their recognition throughout the state precedes them very well, man. And as you can see in these highlight reels, just an explosive team, both offense and defense, man. This team knows how to play in the playoffs. They know how to make postseason runs, and they have always the one big goal that they have set, and that is to pursue and win championship. This is going to be something big for Walton going into the Jacksonville area for this one on a Friday night.
Yeah, and it feels like when you talk about that strength versus strength situation, Bowles probably one of the meanest front sevens in the state when you boil it down to it. They got a guy, Giotto, who I know is an underclassman, but he's probably going to be a 4-star, which is joining, a handful of other 4+ star guys that you have going to Ohio State, Miami, FSU, Clemson, already committed, that you have on the roster here for Bowles. You can see the physicality in the run game. Having said that, Witten West in big games has been able to sling it. So I think if it's going to get done, it's got to be through the air. You saw the game against McClay here down the stretch. And of course, you have to score a lot if you're going to beat Freeport. And so he was able to sling it in those games. So if he gets some opportunities, this isn't the typical team that we've seen give Bowles trouble. I think this doesn't fit that archetype, because typically that's a nasty defensive team with a ball control run game. So Walton's going to have to kind of do it a little bit an alternative method. But if West can get it going, like he's seen in some big games here in the second half of the season, it's going to give him a chance. And we're always surprised. There's always 1 or 2 games we feel like we know all the answers, and we see 1s and 8s and 2s and 7s. But throughout all the classifications, there's always a little bit of surprise here. So I'm interested to see what West can do, see what the juniors got going on.
Yeah, really for Bowles, man, they've only got their only blemish on their record is a 40-35 loss to St. Augustine, who also is in the top 10 in the state. And among those wins includes a 31-0 win on the road against Columbia, one of the better teams in the state. It's just, man, it's a tough draw for the opening round. But again, for Walton, I think it's just really just putting to bed the 6-game losing streak that was in the middle of the season. They were close against Arnold. They were close against Fort Walton Beach. Played South Walton, moderately tough. This is one of those where, you got to really look at it and say that maybe something came together towards the end of the season. Hung 68 points against Freeport, and then, of course, another 43-13 win over McClay. Maybe there's something to that they can bring to the against Bowles, hopefully to match things up pretty well. But man, this is going to be a tough opening round matchup for the Braves. Best of luck to them as they head across I-10. But the Braves sitting at 4-6 and taking on the Bulls Bulldogs out of Jacksonville, perennial state power, at 9-1. Bozeman opens up the playoffs on the road at Pensacola Catholic, and this, I believe, I'm gonna pull it up real quick. Let me see if I can recall this one for the Bucks. No, they did not get Pensacola Catholic in the regular season, so this one is really just about, I would say, just Bozeman breathing some life back into the program. Coach Pettis has done a great job, known as a program builder, but has really put Bozeman in great position. Had the tough loss to close out against really just a powerful Bay team, but winning 4 of their last 5 to close out the month of October, pretty much right where you want to be. Had a tough, really, I would say, close losses against Sneads, and really the surprise there was the loss against Mariana. A lot of what we've seen from Bozeman is really them just being scrappy and opportunistic. This is a younger team that's really put together a great season so far.
Yeah, Coach Pettis, just first year there, really put these guys in good shape. They're moving in the right direction. Pensacola Catholic is a tough draw. They are tough, and especially tough at home. Not very many teams can go in there and beat them. Bozeman, you kind of look at it and you see they had a pretty good season. Could have been and they beat teams. They beat a Leon High School, a team that's up. They beat I think the biggest surprise to us, I think, was that Rutherford game, because Rutherford was on a roll, and going into Pensacola Catholic, I mean that is a tough draw, and they're gonna have to make this. And Coach Pettis is an experienced coach. He knows what he got to do is, make this game last a long time, control the ball, keep Pensacola Catholic on the offense on the sideline, and try to have a win it in the fourth quarter. Because the team that on paper that looks to be a better team would be Pensacola Catholic, and I'm sure Coach Pettis has a great game plan going in, being an experienced coach like he is.
Yeah, absolutely. Taking a look at some of these highlight reels, Pensacola Catholic, just a real good team, that finds themselves in playoff position almost every season, so they have players with experience, and this is a great opportunity for a Bozeman team now to have playoff experience and to see what they're capable of. They have a good, resume with the wins that they've had this season against some good opponents, Leon being one of them, Rutherford, as we mentioned. But yeah, like being able to stop the explosive play, this is one of those games where, you gotta start off with that first stop or that first score. So we'll see what's in store for Bozeman as they start the playoffs against Pensacola Catholic.
Yeah, and if they've got a mean defense, it lives in the backfield. I think they got 34 sacks on the season. So their averaging almost 4 sacks a game. You look at Trip Dalton and Lane Grissett getting after the quarterback. So while I like what Aiden Gay's been doing here, he's been giving Bozeman an opportunity to go get it. It's going to be really tough. Got to get the ball out quick. And then when you do have an opportunity to get past that pressure, you got to capitalize, hit some big plays. But you can expect the quarterback to have some tough sledding here. So he's going to have to make some quick decisions and that kind of facilitation here. But we've seen Bozeman go up against some big opponents, like we said. And so, hey, can you go ahead and get the upset? You don't have to go too far. And, you didn't have to play them in the regular season, like you said, Mark, but a nice District 1, District 2 matchup going for you here in this first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, the thing that I noticed about Pensacola Catholic is just, despite their only blemish being the pace early in the season, this is a second half team. This is a team that really poured it on against Godby, found a way to pour it on against Freeport. And then, of course, I think they closed out one of their final 2 games was against South Walton. South Walton felt like they had a pretty good first half, and then back again comes Catholic in the second half. This is one of those where you're going to have to show up and show out all 4 quarters in order to be able to have a fighting chance. Otherwise, Catholic is known to put up some points. They've hung, I think, as many as 50 against Freeport in the 58-17 win. This is a team that's pretty sound, especially you talked about them being nasty on defense. This is one of those where for Bozeman, hey, take advantage of whatever opportunity you can get. But this is one of those where Pensacola Catholic is really just they're not going to go away at any point in the ball game, especially in the second half. Making our way through the 2A playoffs, South Walton. Congrats to the Seahawks. They get to open up the new digs with the playoff home, the home playoff matchup against Freeport. Freeport Bulldogs really just as Battle of Walton County, really. Both teams not too far away from each other. I think they're probably only about maybe less than 30 minutes away, both campuses. But this is going to be just an Emerald Coast, a classic, hopefully a future Emerald Coast matchup. The Seahawks, for the most part, have been pretty consistent, especially in the passing game. One of the more fun teams to watch there. Excuse the names, guys. We'll get that updated. But for South Walton, everything that we've seen about them has just been explosive plays on offense, especially in the passing attack. They've put together a pretty reasonable schedule. And for Freeport, this is a team where, they started out red hot and then, just took a nosedive right there in the middle of the season, dropping 4 straight and then finally closing out the regular season with the win at NFC, a very close one, 36-35. So for Freeport, the dead period couldn't have come at a better time, gives them a chance to kind of recalibrate and rest up because this will be a tough road matchup against South Walton, who has really been able to quietly go about and put together a great season. Had a chance to talk to Coach Tisa earlier in the year. He was really excited about how far the team has come. And this is a team that has really put together a stellar home record, 6-1. 7 home games. So this team is comfortable at home. They're used to playing at home, and they definitely will look to have the edge in this one.
Yeah, this is a rematch for Walton County. South Walton won this pretty handily earlier. We discussed it. Freeport was playing pretty good ball early in the season, putting up tons of points, and something happened at the midway point of the season. South Walton played a decent schedule, won the county battle, as you would put it, and they have a prolific offense. I love to watch them play. They slang it all over the place. Although I like a running attack, but they slang it all over the place. And this is a tough matchup for Freeport. But it is, you're playing the team the second time around after you lost to them. Maybe they make some improvements, but they're going to have to do a lot to slow this offense down in South Walton. The Seahawks, Mark.
Yes, apologies, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
We'll get that straightened out.
Please.
For the mascot names, South Walton Seahawks, Freeport Bulldogs. Yes. Yeah, I'm excited for this matchup. Yes, South Walton did get Freeport this season, so this is the chance to see if the Bulldogs, can get even, and no better stage to do so than in the playoffs. Going to be tough though in that brand new stadium that the Seahawks have, which we've seen highlights of them play on. Which this team loves to throw the deep ball, man, and they have a solid run game too. So let's see what it's going to be like now that they begin a playoff run. And the same thing for the Bulldogs on how they face, a talented team that knows how to compete in the postseason.
Yeah, and this feels like one of those games. Freeport's going to have to score a lot to keep this one kind of back and forth. I think that's kind of their recipe. If they can make this a high-scoring affair, This game, I know Freeport had the old injury bug toward that middle of the season, but it was not close. The first time these two teams played, 50-9 was the final score back then. You talk about how they can sling it, Coach. I agree. Really like what I've seen from J.D. Brown, especially at home. Lucky number 8 home game on the season here for South Walton. But also, don't sleep on Will Justice. He had a big bruising game the last time these two teams played. He is a physical runner, so when need be, they can put it on the ground. They can get some tough yards, so it adds a little bit of versatility from South Walton. I love what they did defensively last time out. Of course, they were able to kind of contain Miles, which is going to be the big emphasis. Any team playing Freeport is going to want to watch that NFC film. They did a really good job of doing so, but I think the first time around they limited to just the 5 catches, I think it was for Miles. He's going to be the focal point in that passing game. You got to make sure he's taken care of, or it could be a long, long night for you. He could go full-blown Brock Bowers mode on you if you don't check him.
Yeah, I really like the J.D. Brown to a Grant Gilmore connection. That's been one of the more fun things about the South Walton Seahawk offense. Just a fun team to watch, and of course, again, this one really has come down to what just kind of looks like a very interesting matchup. But I do expect a big crowd on hand for this one, as both teams just both soaking up just kind of the close proximity. This is going to be a good one. South Walton just opening up the new digs with the playoffs. It's going to be a great playoff atmosphere. With the Seahawks sitting at 7-3, taking on the Bulldogs at 5-4, this will be a great opening round playoff matchup for both schools. Got to go ahead and talk about this one. Florida High, the Seminoles taking on the Baldwin Indians at the Shack on Friday night. Another game slated for the 4Q network. Do appreciate the shout out. I will definitely be on hand for this one. Live from the Shack as Florida High takes the 4-6 record into the playoffs. Throw the records out the window. Florida High, I would say, just really battle tested for the postseason. This is a team that understands how to win in the postseason. They've made several trips to the semifinals, had a couple of state title berths, has been knocking on the door, and just really understands what the postseason is like. The program, in my opinion, Coach Hickman has built this team year in and year out to play 15 games. I think a lot of what we're going to see here is just really just can the ground game get going. We saw them go against adversity, pulling out a tough win against Childs earlier in the year, back against the wall. And when they needed the points, they were able to get it. Baldwin is a very, I would say this is going to be a close matchup. Baldwin is a very evenly matched team with Florida High. A lot of what the Indians can do, especially, they can just match you for physicality and on the ground. This is one of those where Florida High, this is just not, just because you're at home doesn't mean this is a guarantee. A lot of this will come down to just how the Seminoles play and not being able to make mistakes and turn the ball over.
Well, Mark, this is experience, I think, will be the difference in this game. Florida High played the record is not indicative, I think, on how good they are. They had a lot of injuries, a lot of ups and downs during the season. Played a difficult schedule, and I mean, when you say battle tested, they are battle tested. Now, this will depend on the success of Florida High. Will depend on what players will be available for the game, and if they're going to be full strength, or if they. But I know they're not going to be, because I know a couple of guys are out for the season, and Coach Hickman going to have to do one of his better jobs. You playing home, everybody expect you to win, and good luck with Baldwin. They came in second in their district. What they in there with St. Augustine? It was at St. Augustine. Man, they got to be battle tested also.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a season of, close ones and battles for Florida High, man. We've seen this team take on its fair share of good, talented teams, such as, of course, taking on Thomas County Central early in the season in Georgia. Players got some experience in that rough one, but still learned a lot from it. And they were able to, grind out the season and finish strong, And, granted, regardless of your record, you have a home playoff game, and that's what you want. You want to start the postseason off at home. The Baldwin Indians. This will be a good team, especially one that was in second in their district. And they had to play with one of the top teams in the state in their district, St. Augustine. So that's quite the experience. So we'll see how this matchup, goes on here in Tallahassee over there at the Shack. And I'm excited for this one. Only one tribe will come out victorious.
A good one.
There you
Got to
go.
be creative.
So,
Got to be creative.
there you go. So Bowles was the team in their district. So different classification than St. Augustine. But I mean, it's like St. Augustine's number 1 in the state. Bowles is number 8 in the state. So I mean, we got 2 good teams from Jacksonville there, or Jacksonville area, First Coast, whatever. I'll put them all in the same bunch. But anyways, this is a team. This is not the Baldwin team that we've seen in the past kind of get crossover. This team can score. They're averaging over 38 points a game. They are rolling. They put up more points against Bowles than anybody else did all season. They put up 49 on Bowles. Wow. And not even St. Augustine could put up 7 touchdowns. So this team can score early and often. They can do it in the passing game. They can do it on the rushing game. And then also they get out and score on you. And then they also play really good ball hawk defense. They've got 10 interceptions on the season, one of the highest clips here in North Florida. They can take the ball away, and then they swing it right back to the offense. This is a dangerous, loaded Baldwin team. Florida High is going to have their hands full. And I know you get the home game, which is great. They're going to need to score some points. Turn that mic, Mark. We need that mic.
Sorry, I still had the video playing in the background for the highlights, but yeah, this is one of the more interesting matchups because Florida High undefeated at home, only had 3 home games this year. Baldwin undefeated on the road at a perfect 4-0. So this is one of those where you have one battle-tested road team and one battle-tested home team. I definitely think it'll come down to the Seminoles being able to kind of get like you said, Juke, get some points on the board, but a lot of this will come down to the ground game. I think they definitely have to get not only Tegan Hackett, Miller and Jones in on the action, just to really be able to spread that love around with the football, just so that Florida High can establish a rhythm. A lot of this will just come down to the interior. Don't overlook the big fellas in the middle. I definitely think the game rests on their shoulders as far as what Florida High can do, especially on the defensive front, because if you can slow down the Indians who are pretty fast on offense and like to play that way, this could you really want to turn this into a sludge fest where it's slow moving, and so you can establish some control here. I think whoever can control the clock will ultimately win the game, and I think for the Seminoles, we saw them against Childs in that matchup where they were able to slow down the Timberwolves' offensive attack, really being defensively sound. And we know that from Florida High's teams, Coach Harley will have the defense cued in. And this is going to be one of those where they will look to play their brand of football despite what Baldwin is bringing to the table. Definitely don't want to count out the fact that they're at home. I think that's at least good for a pair of touchdowns. But we'll see, as we will be on hand for this one, as the Florida High Seminoles take their 4-6 record, matching up against the Baldwin Indians in the first round of the Class 2A playoffs.
And just want to jump in, Mark, here is, I know we kind of, it made it seem like maybe the picture was painted as like a David versus Goliath, but this is a very similar conversation to last year that we had. I see a lot of similarities between Baldwin and Mosley last year. So for contextualization purposes, Florida High played them really well. To your point, Mark, they did muddy that game up, made it nasty, got some turnovers, got some big plays, and were able to take them down. So I don't see this as being a huge disparity. We just want to paint an accurate picture of Baldwin's legit. But to your point, Florida High didn't have a good contest for you.
Yeah, definitely gonna be evenly matched. I think they definitely match up well, especially in physicality. Seeing a lot of movement, especially on the offense defensive front. Let's go ahead and take it up to Class 3A. Your Wakulla War Eagles at 6-4 hit the road going into Duval to take on Bishop Kenny, which quietly the Crusaders have put together a great season, sitting at 8-2. Very explosive offensively for Bishop Kenny, and really for Wakulla. Man, you get the district championship, but what you get in the first round is a road contest away from arguably your biggest weapon, which is JD Jones Stadium in Crawfordville. And man, you got to start asking the questions: what is the district title for? Because if you don't get that first round home game, man, it's just all uphill from there. Bishop Kenny does have, by virtue of the better record, they get the home game as they are the 3 seed, 5-1 record at home for the Crusaders. And really for Wakulla, it's just, hey, you've done this on the road before. Can you do it again in a tough environment against an explosive offensive team? I look at very much how they handled Gabi early in the year. Gabi has an explosive offense, and Wakulla just found a way to shut that down. A lot of that will be needed. They were able to win in a tough road environment at Baker County. So Wakulla definitely could, depending on which team shows up here, but Owen Clee's definitely going to be slinging the rock. That's going to be one of the hidden elements to this game. Really, can the Wakulla War Eagle defense show up and really slow down Bishop Kenny, who has been pretty formidable on offense, averaging, I would say, close to about 48 a game. Hung 56 on Rickards earlier in the season. Came into Tallahassee and just really made quick work of the Raiders. Is kind of how we've seen them up and close. Hung 63 on West Side. So for Wakulla, the defense is definitely going to have to be in full effect in the first round.
Yeah, Mark. Bishop Kenny is a tough draw for Wakulla, but this Wakulla is a perennial playoff team. They're always in it. Made it to the state maybe once or twice. So not going to be easy for Bishop Kenny, but Bishop Kenny is a tough draw for Wakulla on the road because the way they played, what I've seen them play, that it's going to be very difficult for them to stop them. Wakulla defense has definitely got to show up, and the offense is like you say. Cleese has really got to have one of his better performances for them to come out with a victory against Bishop Kenny.
Yeah, a lot of quarterback Cleese's success is also granted of his O-line, so the O-line has to definitely be there against a very good Bishop Kenny team that has a solid defense. And then Wakulla's defense has actually done well against their district opponents this past season. That kind of helped lead to a district championship. And yeah, I work with a lot of Wakulla alumni and people with the radio station that does their games. They were a bit disappointed that they weren't able to get that home playoff game. Had they won that Gadsden County game, just maybe. But again, you want to get those home games. I mean, this is one of the ways you have to do so. And they've actually crossed paths with Bishop Kenny a few times, from what one of the guys at the radio station was telling me. And it's just been a challenge for the War Eagles in the past to get over the hump against the Crusaders. So they're hoping that this time they could do so and get to the next round and bring a home playoff game back to JD Jones Stadium.
Yeah, for sure. They're going to have a tough contest on defense, so they're going to need to kind of step that up. Number 6 on the other side is mean. I don't know if we got to put a line into Norvell or whoever the coach at Florida State is coming up here. But Caleb Madison, a 4-star back. He just broke 1,000 yards off his last rushing performance. He is the key that gets this engine going. But Mark was talking about some other teams that have been second half opponents. The second half for the season for Bishop Kenny, they've been absolutely rolling. 56, 42, 45, 63, 42 points scored on offense for their last 6 games. Absolutely rolling. And it's more dangerous because Madison's really been turning up the heat. I want to double check my numbers. I think it's 11 touchdowns in the last 3 games. Oh, sorry.
Dang.
Only 9 touchdowns in the last 3 games, gang. But Madison's been popping off in the biggest stretch here for the team. He's been playing his best ball. They're going to be feeding him early and often. You're probably looking at 25 plus rushes from Madison.
Oof.
Wow.
A great matchup. I think the War Eagles really do. They really do match up with Bishop Kenny somewhat well. Can this team really establish themselves again? They went up against Gabi and really shut down an explosive offense. If they're able to kind of slow down the Crusader running game, it really just gives them an extra layer, and maybe they can buy themselves a quarter of football that can get them. This is a team where I wouldn't be surprised with Wakulla forces this one into overtime. This is one of those where the War Eagles have found a way to find some points late in the ball game. They can make this one interesting, but this one on the road for War Eagles as they take on Bishop Kenny, the Crusaders, who are sitting at 8-2 in the opening round of the Class 3A playoffs. Keeping it rolling, heading down to the beach, the Bay Tornadoes, champions of Bay County football, at 9-1 and really having one of the most explosive offenses in not only in the state, in their area, but also in the state. In Class 3A, taking on Gabi, who's sitting at 4-6, and really the 4-6 record for Gabi, really a little bit of an enigma there, because there were quite a few games there that they were just, really close. Had close losses against Rickers, a close loss against Florida High, both of those to open up the season. And really for Gabi, the biggest question is which team is going to show up just when they seem to get a little bit of momentum. They kind of play some teams that are a little bit below their talent level, closer than they should, but then they show up big against some opponents that really turn some heads earlier in the season. Bay is going to be one of those where you're going to have to bring your A game. The Tornadoes are absolutely clicking on all four cylinders. Their only loss came to, ironically, Madison in midway point in the season. And for Bay, this is one of those where I think they really remember their opening round of the 24 playoffs, and just that hard trip they had to take out to Reigns. And now they put themselves in the driver's seat to really be one of the top teams in Class 3A, poised to make a deep playoff run. And they open up against Gabi, and really Gabi is no slouch. It's just got to wonder which Cougar team is going to show up for this one. So I do look for this to be a high-scoring affair, as both offenses can easily put up points. But yeah, this one is probably going to be about this really is going to be about, who can be able to put together some unanswered points.
Mark, you were right about Gabi. From week to week during this season, we weren't sure who was going to show up. They have the capability of winning this game also, and they also have a capability of laying an egg. I think this team can be it's a scary matchup for a Bay County team, for Bay High School, but Coach Brown has done a great job, a fantastic job with his team, bringing them to this point. They made the playoffs last year, 9-1, and they only only lost to a 5-5 Madison football team, which we go back to the beginning of the program. And this team, this could be a very interesting game. You don't know who's going to show up. Madison, I'm sorry, Godby could come in there with the and turn this game out, or they could come out and then not show up too well. Bay County has been very consistent during the season, and I look for them to continue to do that. The one thing you got to wonder is who's going to show up for Godby.
Yeah, definitely. Quite the journey that the Godby Cougars have had this season. On despite like a bit of an up and down start, man, they managed to finish their regular season strong, especially with a big signature win over Lincoln. And at the other side of the ball now, the Bay Tornadoes, man, F5, they have been rolling all season long. And, they have an explosive running game. And if they can get things in the passing game, definitely. So this will be a good challenge for the Godby Cougars. But at the same time, we've seen Godby um, go toe to toe with some good opponents this season. They were in most of those games. Out of the 6 losses, I think there was like 3 games that were decided by 1 or 2 scores. So if they can keep it close with Bay early in the game and headed towards the end, I do like the Cougars' chances to pull off the unthinkable. A matchup like this, gentlemen, I say expect the unexpected. So we'll see what happens too, because Godby, I actually cut the hair of like a marching band member. The team is all excited, and so is the marching band. So they're looking forward to bringing all of Cougar Nation down there to Panama City.
Yeah, and they got practice playing a good road trip team last week when they went all the way out to Dothan. So they show that they can play on the road. They got off to a little slow start, but after the first quarter, they went head-to-head with Dothan, kind of pound for pound. They got the run game going, which I think was awesome. Kind of one of the biggest hidden gems in the area, Cameron McMillan, the junior, went 200+. He had it going on. I'm interested to see how many quarterbacks Godby's going with. Are we going with 1 quarterback, 2 quarterback, 3 quarterbacks here this week? So it'll be interested to see what we have. They got options, so kind of champagne problems. But, yeah, you're going against a good Bay team. You got to finish strong. Like we talked about, Bay may be the best fourth quarter team in North Florida.
This could be one of those where, you mix in both quarterbacks and kind of give yourself maybe a fighting chance in this one, because you maybe Bay hasn't had a chance to prepare. But honestly, then the Bay defense is just as ferocious as the offense. Godby, I do feel like, has a great opportunity here just to be able to kind of jump out in similar fashion like they did against Lincoln, scoring quickly to just establish themselves, and then being able to be consistent enough to kind of pull something off. The defense definitely has turned into a takeaway machine as of late. That's one of those where, like, you'll need to rely on some takeaways in order to hang tough with Bay. But man, Bay is so much built to where anybody can score at any time. Offensively, they just look really dominant. And this could be one of those where, if depending on, like we were saying, Coach Cofield, with the Jekyll and Hyde scenario of which Godby team could show up, it could be a thriller and an instant classic, or it could get ugly really fast.
And Mark, I also wanted to put in a fun fact to this matchup. The winner of this matchup will take on the winner, I believe, of Bishop Kenny and Wakulla. So if all goes well for the War Eagle faithful, if all goes well for Cougar Nation, you could have a home playoff game at J.D. Jones Stadium and a rematch between those two. It's a possibility.
Wow.
So Bay right now, the number 2 seed in Class 3A Region 1, hosting the Godby Cougars, 4-6 on the year. Bumping it up to 4A, and man, you talk about another tough draw. Magic 8 Ball couldn't have predicted it. You could have rolled the dice or played some roulette, and man, you hate to land on this kind of opponent. This is one of those where, for Arnold, hey, I don't want to say happy to be in the playoffs, but you did make it, although the season did not go the way that they generally expected, especially after last season's big successful run. But man, St. Augustine has just been an absolute nightmare to deal with for opponents. The Yellow Jackets have established themselves. I think their only loss has come to, I believe, Nice. Or Beachside, or one of the teams out there, or it could have been Point of Adrian, one of those. And, for Arnold, this is just one of those where, like, hey, get the experience of playing in the playoffs. This will be their second year in the playoffs after a bit of a drought. And for the Marlins, this could be, again, take advantage of it, because this is always the beginnings of establishing a good and consistent dominant program. You got to be able to make the playoffs consistently, so you're in, and make the most of your opportunities, because St. Augustine is going to put up the Yellow Jackets are going to do what they do, and this one is just one of those where, for Arnold, just look for some bright spots against a team that really has been playing at their one of the highest levels.
Mark, you make it seem like it's hopeless. It's not. If they line up,
Seems like it's hopeless.
when you line up to play, anything can happen. And usually, when I was coaching, the one thing I didn't want it to happen when you're playing a team you're supposed to beat is the weather, because the weather is an equalizer. You playing if it storms at the game, it could change the whole outcome of the game. But if your team come with confidence, because I've seen it, teams that you know it seems like a big mismatch, but if you got great coaching, a bit of luck, and a consistent offense, keeping the other team offense on the sideline, you got a chance. And I'm like, and when you see a game, Arnold, I watched him play during the whole season, and they had a lot of ups and downs. But one thing I like about Arnold, they have a great coaching staff, so anything's possible.
You said it, Coach. Anything is possible. Just looking at these highlight reels of St. Augustine, I recognize that stadium. That's I think that's Ridgeview over there, just in Clay County, on the outskirts of the Jacksonville area. Yeah, I mean, St. Augustine, their reputation precedes them very well, man. I mean, a top tier program that stands out in the state of Florida, and it's plays like that are examples as to why. But yeah, for Arnold this season, despite it being rough, though, you made it here. And like you said, Mark, make the best of it, give it your all. And this is where you want to start laying down more of the blueprints of your foundation of what the future of the program of Arnold is going to be moving forward. And understanding you make the playoffs consistent. Well, guess what? This is also what you have to expect when making the playoffs consistent, is playing some top-notch teams in the state of Florida.
Yeah, and you like to see how your seniors kind of step up. And when you have a pass-happy team, sometimes they go falling in love with the pass. You got Darren Elder back there. He's sitting on 5 interceptions for the season for your Arland Marlins. And so, you get a couple takeaways. You start throwing it around. Maybe the weather's nasty, a couple batted balls, and things can start to steamroll. So we got some playmakers on Arnold. We can make some things happen. Defense is going to have to step up big. This is a team with St. Augustine. They like to roll. They like to score. They like to sling it. They like to pass. And Arnold, not a typically high-scoring team. They've had their most success when they kind of keep it to that 3-score situation. It's going to be really tough to do so with St. Augustine. But if you can get some turnovers, get things rolling here, have Elder step up, give you a ball game, use that basketball vertical leap to be taking it away from defenders. You get into some exciting situations. And so, I'm not calling for the doom and gloom that I hear a lot going on for our Arlen Marlins gang. They're kind of sleeper, and I'm not sure that St. Augustine's going to give them kind of the respect that they deserve. But just as a point of note, that one loss for St. Augustine coming against Mandarin, which is another top 10 team in the state. They're currently sitting at number 6. I think they're 7A, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, they're really good.
Yeah, I would say for Arnold, ride the momentum. Great way to close out the season against regular season against Rutherford. Had the dead period. It's playoffs. Nothing you can't be excited about when you're in the playoffs. So that will take us to our other 4A matchup, the Raiders. Sitting at 3-7, making the trip down I-10 to take on Columbia, the Tigers, who are sitting at 8-2. And we talked about how the points worked out, but man, for Rickers, man, it even though the regular season didn't go your way, the playoffs sure did, and showed up on your doorstep in a beautiful manner, as they were able to not only get in but also get a pretty favorable ranking to kind of put them into where they were able to lock up their spot closer to the edge of the season. But they get Columbia in the first round, and this is going to be a tall order for Coach Lewis and the Raiders.
Yeah, Mark, this is another tough matchup. Looking at basing it on the records, Columbia was pretty good. And I think they had a couple of falters late in the season, but mostly they went I forgot what they were 5-0 or 6-0 to them at St. Augustine. This this another tough matchup, but you got to play the game. Hopefully, your team can come out and give a1 performance. Ricketts has an offense that can explode all over the place, so they have a chance. If Columbia doesn't come out with their game on defense, Ricketts could put up a lot of points, and they're gonna have to do it on Friday night to have an opportunity to beat Columbia.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Columbia being a very good team that they are, down there in Lake City. But for the Raiders this season, you look at in the 3-7 record of those 7 losses, at least maybe 3 to 4 games as well, were at least 1 or 2 scores, man. So they were in it with most of their opponents this whole season. So we'll see how they do in this matchup, man, especially against a team that just knows how to play playoff football and prepares themselves to be on this grand stage. I've been down there to that stadium in Lake City, and trying to be respectful here. They too have their own version of a Death Valley down there. So
Yeah, they do.
so, I mean, I'm just like if you ever go down there and just look and see. So yeah, this is going to be a big test for the Rickards Raiders. And historically speaking, man, it's been quite the battle that a lot of Tallahassee teams have had with Lake City. This isn't Lake City's first go around with a team in the playoffs from Tallahassee. They've had their run-ins with Leon, they've had their run-ins with Lincoln, and the list goes on. And now with Rickards. So can the Raiders be the ones to also pull off the unthinkable, expect the unexpected, and go down to Lake City and see what you can do?
Yeah, this is a Rickards team. Well, before I get into it, whatever the code is for the playoff points, it looks like Coach Q and Coach Hankerson have hacked the code because they had the perfect situation. Rickards sitting in the middle of the bubble, that kind of 3 to 6 slot the whole way after they made that early jump after like week 6. So they got it going on. And also, we've seen Rickards when they've had the tough competition, they've stepped up to the plate. The game against Eastside, people forget that was a kind of giveaway game. They were up 3 scores. Eastside is a good 8-2 ball club. You talk about Godby, a team that you see is up and down and has beaten Lincoln. And then they gave Colquitt a really good ball game up at Colquitt. And we know kind of what the national power and the Georgia power is all about there. So I think Rickards can get it going. You got Carlise Price on the run game. You know what he can do. And they got some quarterbacks. They can sling it with Kelly. And you might see some other quarterback action here. But this is a team, Columbia, is based on the defense. Having said that, I know sometimes that the turnovers can pop up. Columbia, I think they've scored 7 defensive touchdowns. They have a ton of takeaways, and defense is the strength. So Rickards got to play it clean. But I don't think this is the David and Goliath matchup that the Rickards kind of play themselves out when you look back at the schedule and how Rick has played up when they did battle those big teams.
Yeah, for Rickards, I think, for the most part, when you watch them, it's just, man, they put together great drives and just haven't been able to stick in the end zone consistently. And I think if the Raiders can be able to find pay dirt on a few of their drives, I mean, they got the playmakers that can really surprise some people. I think they just have dropped a few close games, and that really just kind of kills your momentum. This is one of those where, yeah, if the Raiders can find a way to get it going, they do have some studs on defense that can really, really make kind of catch some attention. I think for Columbia, the bad loss against Bowles to close out the regular season may have shown some chinks in the armor for the Raiders. So this could be interesting, but this will be a great opening for a matchup. To kick things off, the Columbia Tigers at 8-2 hosting the Rickards Raiders for the Raiders. It's a road matchup. It's this one taken on in Lake City. And that will bring us to our only 5A matchup. One of the heavyweights, the Mosley Dolphins, sitting at 9-1, will be hosting the Lincoln Trojans at 6-4. And this one is just more so, I think, for each team, looking for redemption. For Lincoln, this is one of those where, man, we've been able to kind of navigate through the regular season. We've taken our lumps and had our ups and downs. It's playoff football for Lincoln, and that means basically winning time. We've got to be able to put together what I would say would be the makings of a deep playoff run. We've seen Lincoln before kind of have an up and down regular season, and then all of a sudden they've won 4 playoff games to kind of create a state semifinal berth or a state championship berth. So we know the elements are there. Got great quarterback play out of Jacobs this year. Trying not to make it one-dimensional because they really want to get that running game going. And for Mosley, man, how many times can you throw the ball to Adam Land? The big tight end, along with their other tight end, just, man, they make for a very unique offense. They're very physical, and they have the ability to run the football as well. This is a team that can really put up some points really fast. This is going to be fireworks in this game. I think if Lincoln can get the ground game going, they got a great chance. Defensively, though, you got to figure out a way to control the Mosley passing attack. And go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, this is really an interesting matchup because you talk about a Lincoln football program, a Lincoln team that go into Mosley, and they're not going to take this game light because Lincoln can explode. We saw them at the beginning of the season beat on, I think it was Miami Northern. They put up it was a very good team, and we thought their record was probably going to be better than what they ended up. They had a little letdown during the season when they lost to Gabi. But this matchup, it's a coin toss flip to me. Lincoln can be very, very good, and they can be average. Mosley has been pretty good the whole season. So this is probably one of the better game matchups of the whole playoffs in our area.
Absolutely, Coach. And correction, that team at the Treasure Coast Kickoff Classic, that was Miami Carroll City that Lincoln beat in that. Yeah, that was the team. But I honestly felt like this matchup in the playoffs was going to happen. I kept saying to myself, Mosley's going to play Lincoln. I just feel like the Dolphins and the Trojans are going to meet up, and it's now happened. And this is a game to me where I want to see the difference between two programs that have made, the effort to make the postseason, and what's going to be the difference between, great football versus good football, if that makes sense. And, all season long, we've talked about how good Mosley has been, and after their 1-1 loss, they kind of like regrouped and got things rolling. Same thing with Lincoln. Lincoln's had a few close battles, of their season, and they managed to find a way to pull off big victories and stuff. And despite the loss to Godby, they were able to regroup and get back, rolling. And being district champs now, taking on another talented district champ team, I'm excited for this matchup. Mosley knows how to throw the ball. Their air attack is very dangerous. And if the running game for Lincoln gets going, it's hard for, Mosley to probably stop them. But we'll see. This game could be very close. Maybe not as high scoring, but very close.
I don't know. It kind of feels like it kind of may be high scoring. Both of these teams, I think, average 35 plus. You look at the game against Niceville, both teams scored high 30s in a one-score game against Niceville. Both teams also played Rickards, and both teams put up 35 plus against Rickards. So when you look at the similarities across, if you want to kind of compare, this feels like an offensive showcase. And I think it could be something that pads the stat books. So shout out to my late great buddy Joe Ward, a great statistician here in North Florida, South Georgia. But this one for Lincoln and Mosley, I think, is a great first round matchup. They play each other really well. Mosley really likes to attack the middle of the field. Like Mark was saying, they really like hit and land down those hash marks. They can tail you up in the middle of the field. They also like to stretch the width of the field as well in some of those screen games. I think they're gettable on the back end. I think that Niceville and Florida High kind of shown that if you can get deep on them, and we know Jacobs has an arm to send Denmark and to send Cabral Paul deep, I think we could have some explosive plays here for Lincoln. And then the kind of tiebreaker is which team is going to be kind of get involved with the run game. Can Lincoln get the run game going? And on the second hand, is Mosley going to keep it rolling as well? great matchup, two evenly matched teams. And shout out to Jonathan Ferris down there in the chat. Yeah, the point system, district championships no longer guarantee home games like they used to, just for the clarification. So Mosley, since they're two division champs, Mosley's the higher ranker, so they get the tiebreaker. And so with the seeding, they don't do the 1 through 4 automatic home game anymore. So Mosley's going to host this one, as you can see.
Yeah, this one's going to be a good one. Will Fleming, the outside linebacker for the Dolphins, definitely having a phenomenal season. He's going to be someone you got to key in on for the Mosley defense, especially if you're going to be looking to establish the ground attack. So this is going to be a great game, especially in Class 5A. On the opposite end of that bracket, if you take a look, the winner gets the winner of Mainland and Middleburg in the second round. So that will do it for the opening round. We appreciate everybody rocking with us for the 2-hour block. It was a lot to get through, but man, we owed it to all of the games to kind of give our thorough assessment. But for the most part, it's just been it's really just been a great kind of opening round scenario. Of course, we got the added benefit of the FIT tournament, so we're keeping our eyes on that. So we got 3 games slated for the opening round. Florida High taking on Baldwin, McClay taking on NEFI, and then we have a Thursday night matchup with Jefferson County. They will be hosting Wildwood. Also, keep in mind that Lincoln and Mosley will be hooking up on Thursday night out there in the Panama City Bay area. So a slew of games going into this weekend, and the area represented well. So we appreciate everybody rocking with us for the 2-hour block. We're going to get some sleep. So as we get closer to the midnight hour, we appreciate everybody hanging out and rocking with the Extra Point podcast. We'll catch everybody for the post-game wrap-up, for the 4Q scoreboard show, which will be on deck on Friday. And then, of course, next week we will have all of this broken down and previewing round 2 of the playoffs in the state of Florida. Everybody be safe. Catch a playoff game in your area. We'll catch everybody next week. I'm Mark Adams, and for my awesome team that's been rocking with us for the year, Coach Cofield, Andrew Jupe, and Eddie Quinkers Jr., we are the Extra Point. We'll see everybody next week.